I'm Asia Celestino for Be Believe TV. We're here today with Dr. Richard Laub, the scientist behind Virusol. Doctor, how are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. So tell us a little bit about your product. And often people use the words virus and sick or illness describing a bacterial infection interchangeably. So what is a virus really, and how is it different from a bacterial infection?
Well, colds are a good example. Colds are made up of a bacterial component as well as viral component. Coronavirus, rhinovirus are usual suspects in a cold. Viruses really are very special life forms. They're perhaps, arguably so, not the most primitive of life forms, but they're very close to it. Viruses only do one thing in their lives, and that's reproduce. That's the sole function of viruses. But mammalian viruses, to reproduce, have to attach to a host cell. Their structure is so simple, they don't have a reproductive capability on their own. They have to hijack the mechanisms of a host cell in order to reproduce. Bacteria, everything higher than that in life forms, can reproduce on their own. Bacteria split apart, like an amoeba splits apart, for example. Everything higher life form-wise than viruses can reproduce itself. Viruses can't do that. They are so primitive that they need to use the mechanism of reproduction of something else. And really that's the major difference between viruses and everything else in the world that's living. Viruses are also very much smaller than bacteria. In physical size, they're very, very tiny.
And what are the most common ones? Obviously, everyone knows the flu. What are the most common viruses on a smaller scale and a larger scale?
Well, you're absolutely right. Flu is a very common virus. Colds as well, that have, as I mentioned earlier, rhinovirus component, sometimes coronavirus component. Something like SARS, for example, has a coronavirus component. Those are the very most common viruses, but it depends really on the part of the world that you're talking about. For example, dengue fever, which is a hemorrhagic fever virus, sometimes known as the breaking bone fever, because you're in such agony, muscles contract to the point they can actually break bones. That is rampant in the state of Chiapas in Mexico. And so a very big market for Virusol containing humic acid is in fact Chiapas. It's a mosquito-borne virus, and it just will not go away unless you were to eliminate all mosquitoes, which is not going to happen anytime soon. So dengue fever is around all the time in Chiapas. In other parts of the world, different fevers persist. In West Africa right now, Ebola viruses, different strains of Ebola apparently, but all under the umbrella of Ebola, are currently running rampant. In Saudi Arabia, there's the MERS virus, Middle East respiratory virus. That's becoming very prominent in Saudi Arabia. Cruise ships suffer from norovirus, the Norwalk virus, that appears to be peculiar to cruise ships. So it depends on where you're looking as to what the most common virus is. On a massive scale, a much larger scale, hepatitis B and hepatitis C are very important in the case of human health. For example, the People's Republic of China is reckoned to have over 100 million cases, 100 million of hepatitis B. it doesn't by and large kill people, but it certainly makes them very, very sick. And it's to the point where it's affecting the infrastructure of the country. The plumbers who know how to fix the plumbing, the electricians who know how to fix the electricity, the telephone people who know how to maintain and fix the telephone system. Those people are responsible for the infrastructure, the base foundation, if you will, of a country, and it's being severely affected by hepatitis B. In Botswana, for example, what was at one time one of the most progressive countries in Africa, today that country hardly exists because of AIDS. The prominence of AIDS is so great in Botswana that literally the infrastructure of the country is no more. There is really no effective country called Botswana anymore. It's because of AIDS. So once again, it depends on where you look as to what you'll encounter in terms of viral disease. The good news about Virusil is that it's broad spectrum. It works against all of these diseases.
Terrific. Dr. Lob, thank you so much for joining our show today.
You're certainly welcome.
And thank you at home for watching. This has been Be Believe TV. I'm Asia Celestino. If you would like to learn more about Virusil or watch our other episodes, visit BeBelieveTV.com.